I, 35F, have 2 kids, 17M/F twins, and a stepdaughter 18, whom I met when she was 11. Recently, I was at my parents' house going over some estate planning since I'm the executor. While reviewing, I noticed they had divided their assets. Half to be split between my 2 siblings and me, and the other half among their grandkids. My stepdaughter was included. When I asked them about it, they said they wanted to be fair. Their estate isn't massive, but it would be a substantial amount, think. Enough for a new car. I told them that while it was generous, I didn't think it was necessary for my stepdaughter to be included. I suggested it might be better to divide it among their 5 biological grandchildren. Later, my husband overheard and said I was being an AH for excluding his daughter. I explained my reasoning. She's the only child/grandchild on both sides of her family and will inherit from her maternal grandparents, who own multiple properties. Her uncles are also well off and live in a high cost of living HL area. Plus, she's likely to be the only grandchild on that side since it doesn't seem like there will be any cousins. Their collective net worth is significantly higher than my parents'. I also asked if his parents included my kids in their will, but he refused to answer. Still, my husband accused me of not caring about her future. I thought I was simply looking out for my kids and their cousins. Additional context. 1. I didn't pressure my parents to make any changes. I just expressed my thoughts that it wasn't necessary for her to receive a share. 2. My mom plans to give my stepdaughter a set of family heirloom jewelry featuring her birthstone, which I find thoughtful. I'm not big on jewelry, and my mom has other sets for the other girls in the family. 3. My parents have only seen my stepdaughter about 3 to 5 times a year since I met her. 4. My kids and nephews don't have relationships with their biological father sides of the family, and my niece is a new mom who works in a restaurant. The inheritance would be more impactful for them. 5. I know my stepdaughter is set to inherit at least 2 houses in a major U.S. city, HL. I found out after helping my husband organize his office, where I came across estate papers that were drafted shortly after we married. My kids were not included, and I don't know if it has been updated since. 6. There's some distance in my relationship with my stepdaughter, but I don't feel like it's entirely my fault. When I first met her mom, she made it clear that I wasn't her mother, which I respected. Over time, as my stepdaughter became a teenager, our opportunities to spend time together lessened. She wanted to spend more time with friends, which I understand is normal teenage behavior. We were never invited to major celebrations like birthdays or her high school graduation. My husband was, but not us. She's never spent Thanksgiving or Christmas with us either, as her mom always wanted her during those holidays. I encouraged my husband to spend time with her at her mom's, knowing the importance of their relationship. I care for her deeply and think she's a beautiful, intelligent young woman, but it's been difficult to build a meaningful relationship given the limited time we've had together. 7. For those assuming I'm some kind of evil stepmother, I've been trying since day one. I've included her in everything I could during the time she was with us, teaching her family recipes, taking her shopping so she wouldn't have to pack clothes back and forth, and attending as many of her school events as possible. I've tried to include her in family vacations, but her mother would often block it unless the trip fell on a weekend we were scheduled to have her. Even then, her mom would come up with reasons why she couldn't join us. I even suggested a family cruise in lieu of a honeymoon to celebrate our new family, but that was vetoed by her mom too. My husband is allowed to take her on extended vacations, but only if it's just the 2 of them. I've also been flexible with holidays, postponing things like Christmas morning so she could be included. This frustrated my kids, but they understood. One year I suggested we celebrate on Christmas Eve so we could all be together, but in the end, her mom had other plans. When she applied to colleges, I was thrilled to help, but her mom hired a professional, and I was no longer needed. Despite all of this, I've consistently expressed to my husband that we needed more time with her to build our relationship. He's always told me that her mother controls her schedule, and he doesn't want to risk losing his time with her by pushing back. While his relationship with her hasn't changed, he hasn't advocated for my kids or me to be involved. Major update. I haven't had the chance to talk to my husband about everything yet, as I'm waiting to speak to my therapist. But I received a call from my father-in-law, Phil, this morning. My husband had told his mom about our argument, and she wasn't happy. Phil wanted to hear my side of the story, so I told him everything. To my surprise, Phil said I did the right thing. He mentioned that a few years ago, after suffering strokes, he wanted to reevaluate their estate. He proposed including my kids in the family trust by allocating 10% of its liquid assets to them, but my mother-in-law Elle pushed back hard, saying my kids weren't biologically related and shouldn't be included. When FL asked my husband's opinion, my husband agreed that it was best to keep it in the family. Phil was surprised, given that we were newlyweds at the time. Phil tried to address this further with my husband, who reassured him that he would do what was best for his family, but it was clear that my kids were not considered part of that. Phil later found out that my husband had already requested funds from the trust to pay for my stepdaughter's college expenses, but he hadn't made any such plans for my kids. Instead, my husband and I had discussed taking out loans for my kids and helping them pay off half after they graduated, with no mention of using his family's trust for their education. Phil was deeply apologetic and told me that while he would love to make changes to the estate, Elle is his power of attorney, and he fears she would contest any changes, creating more stress and financial burden. He felt trapped by the situation. After hearing this, I no longer feel like the for advocating for my biological family. My husband and his side have clearly been advocating for theirs. Phil excluded. I'm planning to discuss everything with my therapist and figure out my next steps because this has brought to light a lot of issues in my marriage that I hadn't fully realized before. So, AITA for advocating for my kids.